So I have to tell you that while I used to hate this pose, I think we're on 26, right? I thought when I saw this picture coming up, I thought, oh, okay, I like you.
Okay, so verse 26 from Hatha Pradipika. Matsyendrasana, spinal twist pose. Place the right foot at the base of the left thigh, then the left foot at the side of the right knee. Take hold of the left foot with the right hand. Pass the arm behind the waist and remain with the body turned. This asana is described by Sri Matsyendranath. Matsyendranath supposedly practiced this asana and thus named it after him. In English, it is called the spinal twist. There are variations in the placement of the arms and hands and the degree of the twisting in the spine. Maybe I will just share this so people can see. That's the picture. I'm not going to read the techniques.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then it gets into the more complicated versions.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, Amanda wasn't reading the techniques yesterday, and I feel like hearing the techniques sort of raises my anxiety because I can't picture it. I need to see it. But if you want me to read through the
I don't. I thought the way Amanda did it yesterday, which is reading, what the pose is and then the benefits of it, when they were sometimes covered, I thought that was just right. And I agree with you. This is one of those things where a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah. All right, so move on to verse 27.
But one thing that they do say in here that's I mean, it's just so much part of yoga, but it's so important is don't forget, do it on both sides.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, 27.
I do find, though, that with these poses where you do it on both sides, I understand it's very important for the whole balance, but in my own practice, and I teach this to students too, it's important that it doesn't have to look the same on both sides. Because as much as we think our body is the same, my left side is a lot different than my right side.
Yep.
So my twist on my right side may look a lot different than my twist on my left side. And it's important to start at the beginner pose and work your way into whatever variation you're going into, no matter what day it is. Because yesterday, like, you might feel differently practicing today because you had a heavy meal yesterday. Like, I feel a lot differently on Saturday morning practicing because it's 8 a.m. I haven't had any coffee. There's no food in my stomach than when I take a 7:30 class. So I do think that's important. And I think a lot of people, myself included, we forget. We're like, make sure you do the other side. And we hear, make sure you do the same thing on the other side. And it's not. And even yesterday when I took class, I did triangle pose, or not triangle pose, whatever pose it was. I think Bill had us move into bird of paradise or something, and my left leg has like an injury in it, and it just couldn't. And I'm like, I'm not gonna force this.
Yeah.
Like, even though I did it on my right side, I'm like, I had to honor my left side, and I think that's also why we do both sides, is to see what's going on.
Yes, I agree. And even though I really love this pose, there is a huge difference in when I am twisting to the left, which looks more like the picture than when I twist to the right, when my hip rides up and my shoulder starts going, like, huge difference. And I have to, and I cut myself some slack saying, it's not what you look like. It's, are you trying to stay centered? Are you trying to keep your spine straight? What can you do? Can you prop yourself?
Yeah.
More important that your hip stays down than you get all the way around. You're absolutely right. And and one of the things I've found is that what was a strong side 5 years ago is now the weaker side, and you just have to pay attention every day. So
Yeah, every day. Verse 27, practice of this asana, Matsyendrasana, increases the digestive fire to such an incredible capacity that it is the means of removing diseases and thus awakening the serpent power and bringing equilibrium in the bindu. Matsyendrasana helps to channel the prana in a particular direction so that awakening takes place in the dormant energy centers. It specifically stimulates the navel center or Manipura chakra. Under normal circumstances, the rate of pranic vibration is slow. Performing those asanas which direct the prana to the navel center is very important for the awakening of Kundalini. The navel center is responsible for maintaining the body. When it is underactive or overactive, body functions are not harmonious, and if it is sluggish, diseases develop in other areas. If the capacity of Manipura is increased systematically, it not only eliminates imbalances and disease, but the dormant potential of Sushumna Nadi can be awakened. Manipura is directly connected to the digestive system. Proper digestion and assimilation is the key to good health. Many texts talk about the fire of Manipura, i.e., the digestive fire. It is said that a certain fluid produced in the higher brain centers is consumed by this fire, and the result is old age, disease, and death. This fluid refers to the neurohormones of the pituitary and pineal glands, which activate the other endocrine glands. In yoga, it is said that this fluid is stored in bindu visaraga, and it is often associated with semen or ova. If one can prevent that fluid from falling into the fire of Manipura, vitality can be increased and longevity can be cultivated. The navel region is powered by Samana Vayu. Samana is responsible for assimilation of nutrients and prana from the air and food. Above the region of the body where Samana operates, Praya Vayu pervades, and one of its functions is to absorb prana. In the region of the body below the navel, Apana Vayu is located, and its chief function is elimination. Prana and Apana are the two major forces and normally move in opposite directions. One of the aims of yoga is to make prana and apana move toward each other so they meet in the navel and connect with samana. Pranavayu is positive energy, apana is negative, and samana is neutral. When the two opposite energies are brought together in Manipura chakra, there is an explosion of energy, and the energy forces its way through Sushumna Nadi. That is why Manipura is such an important center in the process of awakening Kundalini. It is even said that Kundalini awakening starts from Manipura and not in either of the lower centers. The chakras below Manipura are concerned with the animal instinct, and those above connected with higher qualities of mind. Manipura is midway between the two, and it is said to be the midpoint between heaven and earth. Matsyendrasana increases the vital capacity of Manipura so it can sustain the effects of Kundalini awakening. The other important physiological aspects of this asana are that it stimulates the pancreas, liver, spleen, kidneys, stomach, and ascending and descending colons. It is useful in the treatment of diabetes, constipation, dyspepsia, and urinary problems. It tones the nerve roots and adjusts and realigns the vertebral column. The back muscles are pulled and stretched in a different direction than usual, and this relieves them of tension. Matsyendrasana is, therefore, recommended in cases of lumbago, rheumatism, and slipped disc. In fact, it is a powerful asana, and its vitalizing effects can be felt quickly.
This sounds like one of those asanas that is like a magical elixir that they used to sell in the early 20th century that cured everything.
Yeah, and I'm like wanting to do it so badly right now.
I know. Yeah, me too. But this is not one that you just jump into, at least for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think Amanda
class later, so maybe later.
Awesome. Amanda shared with me that I think she was doing some, because I told her, I was like, Bill did cow face pose yesterday in class, and she's like, I taught it too, and I read what I learned, and she said she was doing them before she meditated yesterday, like doing a few of the poses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was the one who said a couple of days ago that meditation following doing an asana practice is really good because it gets your entire body into the frame of being able to focus, etc. So I would imagine if she did a few poses before meditating, it probably did exactly that.
Yeah, I was seeing if I could. All right. Yeah. I do love twists because I love how detoxifying they are in my practice, and I do love this one. But I think I need to learn to it needs to be held a little bit longer, at least 3 breaths. Maybe.
Oh yeah, this one I like holding if you get into the right position.
Yeah.
It can't hurt. It can't be too much of a strain. It can definitely be effort and is effort. But if you get into the right position, it feels good to hold it. Because it feels good to come out, of course, but it feels good while you're holding it. And then there's a different kind of feeling good when you come out.
Well, one of my favorite poses is the counter twist to this, where you just go to the opposite side and melt down.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh my God. If my body is like, oh, there's like no, and when the teacher doesn't counter twist, I do it anyway, because I'm like, you don't get to have that very often.
Yeah, me too.
Have the ice cream, just add the sprinkles.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sprinkles.
And I feel like the counter twist is always too fast. I'm like, no, I want to stay here forever. It feels so good because, like, I guess I'm not twisting that way very often. So it does feel really good.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
All right, I'll keep going. Verse 28, Paschimottanasana, back stretching pose. Stretching the legs in front on the ground with a stick, bending forward, holding the toes with both hands and placing the forehead on the knees is called Paschimottanasana.
A lot of different levels.
Yeah, I'm just skimming them to see if something. They don't have all pictures for all the levels, so.
No, it's too bad. Especially technique 4. I mean, I do this on a very basic level because that's just where I am and have been for 10 years, but especially, she says, the back should not curve or hunch. Well, okay, but that means that I almost look like I'm sitting up sometimes when I'm doing this, because that's as far as I can go before I start going in. But
when you do it, do you feel it in your low back or in your hamstrings?
Depends on the day. If I've had a heavy duty physical workout, earlier in the day or the day before, I definitely feel it in my hamstrings. Because and Amanda virtually almost yelled at me in class once, don't hunch, et cetera, et cetera. So I pay serious attention to that. I never feel it in my lower back, which is good because I don't want to feel it in my lower back.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The last paragraph, she says, harder to do in the morning and then in the afternoon. That's true because you're not loose.
Yeah.
Looser in the afternoon. But then she says the knees must be kept straight. And sometimes, and in class, very often, that might be the aim, but if your back is feeling at all tweaky, people have said, bend your knees a little, Sometimes I use a strap, which is very helpful because it helps me to focus on keeping my back straight.
Yeah, I think I'll read that last paragraph out loud, but I'm always taught, and I teach it, to bend your knees and keep your spine nice and long.
Yep.
And then try to move with, at the same time, keeping your
and the breathing in helps you to keep your spine longer, and when you breathe out, you might gain a little bit more forward momentum. You might not, but you might.
I have very open hamstrings, so this pose is relatively easy. I don't even feel a stretch when I'm completely folded. But then there's other shapes where my body is like, nope.
Yep.
But yeah,
it clearly says nope.
Right. Yeah. Like you can be so flexible in one direction and then absolutely have no flexibility in another direction.
Yeah.
And it's nothing I did. It's just how I was born. Like I don't ever remember my hamstrings feeling tight. It is more difficult to practice Paschimottanasana in the morning than in the afternoon because the back muscles and nerves had time to loosen. Therefore, it is usually performed after having practiced some other asana or physical movement so that spine and hamstrings are sufficiently supple. The knees must be kept straight throughout the practice. If it is not possible to bring the head down without bending the knees, then bring it down as far as it is comfortable to hold the knees or calf muscles. Remember to keep the back straight and not hunched. The whole body should be relaxed in the final position.
So, Pam, we were just talking about bent knees, and I've also done it with a strap around the bottoms of my feet, which means that your knees are not bent. Yeah. But I think it depends on what you're going for, because I think you can get a couple of things. I get a couple of things out of this pose. When I do it with my legs extended and my knees pretty straight, my legs are pretty straight, and I do it with a strap because I never bend down. It's never going to happen. By that, I mean, I never get my head to my knees or anything even remotely close. But when I do it there, then I feel like I'm concentrating more on the hamstrings, while keeping my back in a comfortable straight position. And the work is done, it feels more largely by the hamstrings. If I do it where I'm bending my knees, then I feel like I'm focusing more on my back. There's a lot of work done by the back, but it's supported by the fact that my knees are bent. So I sort of feel like neither one is the only way to do it. It depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Additionally, the important thing to do is to pay attention to how is your back feeling. And if your back feels at all crunchy or pulled, then you got to back up because something's going wrong.
Well, and it's just nice to know your options because if a strap's not always available, like when we go back to Rev, we're not going to have props. So if you don't bring your own props, it might be not you specifically, but a student. So it's just nice to know, what.
Oh yeah, and actually, I would think that would be very interesting because I use a lot of props during yoga practice, and maybe today in Raf's class I'm going to try doing it without props and see what kind of adaptations I can make to get into each pose, especially since it's a Hatha yin and a lot of it is yin, so that you're holding the poses for a while.
Well, I don't know if his class will be at the studio yet. So not every class will be there. So maybe by the time his class goes back, or maybe he'll choose to stay. I don't know. There's like a lot of moving parts to go.
Yeah, I was speaking about doing it remotely. I'm not sure how fast I'm coming back to the studio. I'm over 70. I have, a couple of health issues, so maybe I won't come back so fast, but I was thinking I'm going to try it today remotely without props and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just to see, what can you do if you're on a desert island and you're doing yoga? What can you do?
Just let Raf know so he's not like, Sue, use the blocks.
And he would immediately be like, where's your blocks, Sue?
Or you can get creative and be like, pretending you don't have the traditional props and, you know, use like the pillows and the books like he
Yeah.
suggests.
Yeah.
I love my props. I use my blocks and my bolster all the time. Even if I think I don't need them, they really, they're fun to use and they do change the posture.
Yes. Yeah. I never used to do this, but now I use blocks all the time when I'm doing down dog because my wrists, something funky is going on with my wrists. And it really helps to,
Yeah,
to raise yourself up just a couple of inches.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm with you. I love my props. I
yeah.
have two sets of blocks, a bolster, a strap, a roll for under my legs. Somebody gave me a little cover for my eyes for Shavasana. I
Yeah,
mean, most of these were gifts, but boy, they work. So.
yeah, same. Yeah. Verse 29. I'll read a little bit more, I guess, and then we'll start.
Okay.
Paschimottanasana is the best among asanas. By this asana, the pranic currents rise through Sushumna, the digestive fire increases, the abdomen becomes flat, and the practitioner becomes free from diseases. Paschimottanasana activates Manipura chakra and releases the prana through Sushumna, which in turn strengthens the digestive organs and tract. Of course, this does not happen after practicing only once or twice. Practice has to be on a regular daily basis. Paschimottanasana stretches the whole spinal column and central nervous system through which Sushumna runs, thus enabling nervous and pranic impulses to pass directly up to the higher centers. The back, shoulder, arm, and leg muscles are toned by stretching them in a relaxed manner without straining. The visceral organs are massaged, in particular the pancreas, spleen, kidney, liver, reproductive organs, the adrenal glands, and the abdominal muscles. Therefore, it is very useful in the yogic management of digestive disorders, especially diabetes, constipation, flatulence, and loss of appetite. The reproductive organs are toned and sexual disorders can be relieved. Women can utilize this asana to regulate the menstrual cycle. Paschimottanasana, particularly the dynamic form, helps remove excess fat deposits from the abdomen and thighs. When there is a lot of tension in the body and mind, Paschimottanasana helps remove it by regulating the adrenal glands and the whole system. In fact, the numerous effects promote health and harmony.
So you're a yoga teacher. Let me ask you a quick question about sequencing. If I'm doing my own practice, just a few moves because I feel like it, and after I do a little bit of warm up, if I move into pigeon and then into that spinal twist that we were just looking at, and then can I move from there, from the spinal twist into Paschimottanasana?
Yes.
You can, okay.
Yeah.
And it's not, yeah, because somehow these feel like they go together, and I'm thinking about doing something like that before I go to bed.
I think that would be awesome. Yeah, because you're twisting the spine, and the way Amanda teaches sequencing is twisting before you're forward, like the twist neutralizes it. So if you're going from your hip opener to your twist to your forward fold, as long as after your forward fold you don't throw yourself into a back bend, or after your forward fold you can go right into your savasana.
Yeah.
Or even
yeah, and that's what would happen because it would be before bedtime and before going and relaxing in bed,
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, yeah, because that just struck me as a very nice sequence.
Yeah. Look at you sequencing asanas now.
Pardon me?
Look at you sequencing asanas now.
Yeah, who would have guessed? But I have thought all these years I've been taking classes and doing stuff with other people, and I started just almost it's not spontaneous because obviously it's been building up, but I started in the past couple of weeks starting to do brief little asanas during the day on my own. And they feel so good because I do a lot of writing and a lot of sitting stuff. And yeah, you can obviously, you know why that's going to feel good to move into some movement afterwards. And even when I go for long walks, just to do a different kind of movement at the end of walking. Because when you walk, if you walk a few miles, you lock yourself. So I can feel my leg muscles locking up, my back doing something a little funky. Doesn't hurt, but I can feel it funking out. And just to move a little, a few yogic stretches, it's nice. So I thought, okay, well, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to work your way into your own practice. So.
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning. I'm so sorry, guys.
Hi, Amanda. That's okay. We had a great time. We were talking about the different poses that turns out were some of my favorites. So.
Yeah, we did Matsyendrasana and Paschimottanasana. And then Sue started sequencing her own at-home practice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we should move into breath. And Amanda, the twist, the Matsyendrasana one was like, right. I feel like you should go back and read it if you have time today. It was really good.
Yeah.
And it was like all the vayus and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we'll set up for breath work, pranayama. And depending where you are, I know you're on your deck, Sue, but if anybody in the future is watching this and wants to do any of those and feels warm enough to do any of those stretches, I wouldn't suggest starting with Paschimon because we just woke up, but, well, some of us did. Okay. So sitting, finding a nice tall spine. Scanning the body from the crown of head down to feet. Just notice what's going on. See where you can soften in your face, relax your shoulders, even if it means you have to scrunch them to release them. Release the tension in your fingers and your toes. And then bring your attention to your breath after you get your body nice and comfortable. Begin to breathe in and out through the nose. It feels okay to begin to lengthen the breath deeper into the low belly, expanding belly button out. And then bring belly button down to spine. Watch the air move up the spine and out through the nose. Take 3 more breaths like that, inhaling through the nose. Exhaling. You might hear a slight whisper at the back of your throat, a little ujjayi breath. And we'll set up for a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing, bringing your right hand in front of your face. Right thumb closes right nostril, inhale through your left. Close your left with your right ring finger, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. 5 more rounds just like that on your own breath. Finishing up by exhaling on the left side. I'm gonna set the timer for 20 minutes now. Bringing hands together in front of your heart. Namaste.
Well, thank you, Pam.